Welcome back to CVM Live. Now time for the major stories in detail. The ceremonial opening of the Parliament on Thursday at 11 a.m. saw the Governor-General Patrick Allen tackling a number of issues in his symbolic throne speech. Chief among them, the issue of crime and violence and the need for greater allocation to crime fighting and justice. Nika Lewis has the details.
The theme for the Governor-General's throne speech for the legislative year 2018-2019, continuing on the path to prosperity, reiterated the government's agenda to stem crime, the largest growth inhibitor to the country's perceived prosperity.
Organized crime and the resulting violence and homicide it produces is the biggest threat to citizens' security and continues to stymie the growth and prosperity of our country. Jamaicans are saying enough is enough. The administration has shown that it is prepared to take the tough and resolute measures needed to tackle the crime monster, and there are signs that a coalition is being developed across all sectors of the island to address this issue, which is caused by only a minority of Jamaicans.
The speech, which was read to the joint membership of the Houses of Parliament and the Senate in Gordon House, aimed to set the agenda for the government going into the new legislative year ahead of the tabling of the estimates of expenditure by the Finance Minister.
When members of this Honourable House voted together to approve the extension of the state of public emergency in St. James, it sent a signal that the political directorate is prepared to unite against the criminals who have caused too much hurt, too much pain, and too much tears over the past many, many years. For this year, the administration is committed to providing additional resources and support to the anti-crime fight. The justice system will also be given special attention, while the social interventions targeting unattached youths will continue in earnest.
Nika Lewis, CVM Live.
A 3-year-old was shot dead last night while walking home with her stepfather and mother in Anoto Bay, St. Mary. CVM Live's Nicole Wilson reports.
A tragic end to Valentine's Day for an Anoto Bay couple as the life of their 3-year-old daughter Khalesia Matthews was taken from them in a most brutal fashion. The killing has left a gloom across the community as residents are unable to come to grips with the tragedy. Assistant Commissioner of Police Norman Haywood recounted the incident.
Based on initial reports, the stepfather of the child, along with the mother of the child, were returning from a function last night when, on reaching a section of the road they were traveling on, they heard gunshots and they ran, only to realize that the little girl lay motionless. She was subsequently taken to the Anoto Bay Hospital where she was pronounced dead, suffering from gunshot wounds. At this stage, we are not able to provide a motive for the shooting.
Khalesia, who was affectionately called Puka, is remembered by her grandmother Joyce Chambers as full of life.
She was a vibrant, full of spirit little girl. She was loved by my family, my friends, and she was beloved by me.
Brutal is the word Miss Chambers uses to describe how her granddaughter was taken from her.
It's so sad, so really, really sad. You understand?
Investigations into Khalesia's death continue. Nicole Wilson, CVM Live.
Meanwhile, Assistant Commissioner of Police Norman Haywood gave the details of a homicide that took place on Thursday morning. The dead man has been identified as Narada Ibanks, 30-year-old mechanic of Standpipe, Mount Edgecombe.
The home of the deceased person was invaded by two men in mask who shot him, and he ran from the house and he was chased and shot several times and he succumbed to his injury. At this moment, the police are pursuing several leads. We are unable to come up with a motive just now.
Raging rumors of soldiers engaging in explicit acts in a church were followed by claims that the soldiers would be pulled from one St. James community. These claims were quashed after residents demanded the JDF stay, blocking roads in the community on Thursday. CVM Live's reporter, Nika Lewis, tells us more. We'll have more on that story later on in our program. In the meantime, the National Council on Drug Abuse carried out a rapid situation assessment and RCA, shedding light on drug use in Kingston. CVM Live's Nicole Wilson has this report.
The effectiveness of laws and policies governing the use of drugs in Jamaica is being thwarted by the lack of implementation, as revealed by the Rapid Situation Assessment RSA carried out by the National Council on Drug Abuse. Making specific reference to the decriminalization of marijuana, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton indicated that this has been the case. He says in the event that someone is found with the permitted amount of marijuana, they should be issued a citation, but there are no tickets to do this.
So on one hand, you have said that if you consume and are caught consuming within a certain quantity, then you're going to be cited. How do we expect the law to be implemented if there is no ticket, which in the case of a ticketing system?
Minister Tufton also pointed to the lack of implementation of the no smoking in public spaces policy.
In fact, I asked the question recently, is there any record at all about citing one individual who has been caught smoking in a public space? And I don't think there's any record of it. And it does show that on one hand, we are advancing a framework. On the other hand, the implementation is letting us down.
Alcohol abuse is having a greater impact on the Jamaican population than what is recognized, which Minister Tufton says needs urgent attention.
We need a narrative that expresses caution to those who make that choice or who are thinking of making that choice as it relates to adults, and those who are not yet in the years of adulthood. We need to outright be active as government through regulation, through policy, through public education to restrict that kind of consumption.
Nicole Wilson, CVM Live.
The steamy parliament sitting over the banking bill leaves the opposition committing to retabling the banking bill when the necessary changes are made. Our reporter Nika Lewis details the promise made by opposition MP Fitzjackson after Tuesday's sitting.
The People's National Party has issued one of its first commitments to the people if or when they regain power by revisiting the banking bill to protect the interest of the common man. The promise was made just after Tuesday's sitting of the Parliament, where St. Catherine MP Fitzjackson and the opposition were outvoted 30-29 in seeking to reduce the banking fees attached to the accounts of the so-called common people.
I intend to retable the bill in the new legislative year, soon in the new legislative year, with the hope that at least one or two of the government members will have the strength of character, the courage to stand up in defense and protection of the depositors. If I fail 1, 2, 3, however often times that I retable that bill, when next the People's National Party forms the government of this country, within 30 days, we will ensure that that bill becomes law and the protections provided therein will be made available for the protection of our depositors. It is our duty and our obligations as parliamentarians to put the interests of ordinary Jamaicans before any special interests.
Jackson said findings have indicated that the banks have been making significant profits at the expense of the small man. He went on to explain his concern for the way the government voted, recalling how previous ministers, while in opposition, supported the reviews until Tuesday.
It is clear that there are entities and individuals who benefit, who does not want the change to occur. The people who want the change are the people who are affected. Our pensioners, our senior citizens, our students, our small and micro business operators, all those persons who are losing monies on a daily basis. The report recently indicated that over $19 billion is made from fees alone, not from the gross earnings of the banks, but from fees deducted from account holders. That amounts to well over $1 billion per month is been taken from depositors.
Nika Lewis, CVM Live.
Time now for regional and international news.
Now for news in Trinidad and Tobago. The decomposed body of a man clad in a wetsuit with a diver's weight belt was found floating in the Gulf of Paria near Cedros on Wednesday. The remains have been identified as 37-year-old Siobhan Bartholomew, who went missing on January 29. Police say at around 12:40 p.m., Coast Guard officers sighted the body floating between Mainfield and Cedros. The body was taken to Cedros, where it was viewed by a district medical officer and removed to the San Fernando mortuary. The Caribbean has set a record with 30 million stay-over arrivals for the first time in 2017. The figures were released on Thursday by the Barbados-based Caribbean Tourism Organization, CTO. The CTO explained that strong economic performance in the main markets helped spur the region's performance, with some destinations recording strong double-digit growth. And in news on the international scene, the FBI has launched a review about its handling of a warning about the teenager accused of carrying out Wednesday's school shooting in Florida. 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz has appeared in court charged with 17 counts of murder. This is the deadliest school shooting in the United States since 2012. Mr. Cruz, who had links with a white supremacist group, reportedly commented on YouTube last year that he would be a professional school shooter. A user alerted authorities to the post. The FBI said it had investigated the YouTube comment, but had been unable to fully identify the person who posted it. Still on the international scene, Cyril Ramaphosa has been elected to be the next president of South Africa, but the new leader will face challenges including high unemployment and a lack of security on the streets. Al Jazeera has more in this report.
Seen as the chief negotiator in the final days of Jacob Zuma's presidency, Cyril Ramaphosa's time as acting president is a signal of change. But celebrations by his supporters may be short-lived as attention turns to what comes next. He was elected president of the ruling African National Congress in December by a slim margin and will have to work to unite his divided party. He will also have to repair the political and economic damage suffered under Zuma and improve the party's image after years of allegations of corruption.
Cyril Ramaphosa is a different kind of president to anything we've had before. This is a modernist. This is somebody, he's a negotiator, he's a reconciliator as well. But he is a man of a very clear, determined purpose.
That's it for regional and international news on Thursday. I am Nicoy Wilson.
Thanks, Nicoy. And we go back to an earlier story. Raging rumors of soldiers engaging in explicit acts in a church were followed by claims that the soldiers would be pulled from one St. James community. But those claims were quashed after residents demanded the JDF stay, blocking roads in the community on Thursday. CVM Live's reporter Nika Lewis tells us more.
Signs of a new day in Melbourne brought about with the presence of the 2nd Battalion Regiment from the Jamaica Defence Force were seemingly coming to an abrupt end when rumours of the soldiers performing sexual acts in the unfinished church building in the area surfaced on Thursday. Rumours now, as the claims have since been denied by the church, the residents and the JDF.
I called the pastor and the pastor says he knows nothing about that allegation and he's in 100% support with the citizens and with the soldiers and police being here.
With a reputation of bloodletting in multiples and a gritty, grim recent past, residents were willing to risk it all to see the soldiers stay on guard.
Basically, we rather the soldiers stay here. That's why I'm going to cut off seat there. Come here, block the road. Come on and stay here. See there,
I just bury my nephew through spirit of untimely death, cause they must know why they shoot them up. Car get shoot up, man dead. Nobody says nothing. Soldier in and they want to take them out for We need peace, and we need love, and we need unity. That may I say in Melbourne.
When the police soldier them plug in a place on them time there, you know, I best community to go back to right now, you know. Because I see before Friday then time I come here, too much low vote, too much killing every day, actually every week. Where there are some party I keep all day there, I keep shooting and going. And from them I'm gonna come down picking the car out, ball can play. You see me, music can go on. All the thing people can live and go to take a taxi.
In an update from Lieutenant Colonel Godfrey Sterling, in charge of the 2nd Battalion Regiment based at the King's Chapel United Church in the area, the soldiers will be staying at the base, which is critical, he said, as they continue to serve the people of St. James until otherwise advised by their head or the Prime Minister to relocate. A welcomed word for some who had hoped for an extension.
Right now, 1 year we don't want them here. Because from then day, everything in order. We don't have no problem again.
Meanwhile, when CVM TV contacted the head pastor Kelly at the church, he denied any hand in the rumors that surfaced. Nika Lewis, CVM Live.
This is News Live in 5, our main story recap and more. Good evening, I am Joel Crosskill. The ceremonial opening of the Parliament on Thursday at 11 a.m. saw the Governor-General, Sir Patrick Allen, tackling a number of issues in his symbolic throne speech. Chief among them, the issue of crime and violence and the need for greater allocation to crime fighting and justice. The speech, which was read to the joint membership of the Houses of Parliament and the Senate in Gordon House, aimed to set the agenda for the government going into the new legislative year ahead of the tabling of the estimates of expenditure by Finance Minister. An over $32 million grant has been awarded to the Peace Management Initiative to assist in a program that will see 160 at-risk youth mentored and counseled away from gang life. Targeting 160 high-risk youth across 4 parishes. The grant signing of the Gang Demobilization Workforce Development Transition Program between USAID Comet 2 and the Peace Management Initiative highlighted the efforts that are underway to wean young men away from gangs. Nadia Pessoa-White, grant manager of USAID Comet 2, shared the value of the intervention.
The grant amount is $32,395,250 for a duration of 8 months. Okay, so for over the next 8 months, PMI will be working in 4 parishes: Westmoreland, St. James, Clarendon and Kingston. So from each of these parishes, they will select 40 participants, and which would be 160 participants in total between the ages of 16 to 29 years old.
Damien Hutchinson, the Executive Director of the Peace Management Initiative, explained the real impact the program is set to have on at-risk youth.
We have found that the best way of engaging these youths is to take them through a transition process where there is hand-holding, there is mentorship, there is the opportunity for them to receive psychosocial support. Our experience tells us that hurt people, and in order to break that cycle, we have to meet them halfway.
Jamaica has been selected to host this year's annual Food and Agriculture Organization FAO Regional Conference for Latin America and the Caribbean region. Speaking at the media launch of the event recently, the Minister of Agriculture, Carl Samuda, says Jamaica is honored to have been chosen as they continue to face issues with agricultural development in the country.
Jamaica is on the right path as far as agriculture is concerned. Have its challenges, we have challenges, but we're on the right path. And I think we can be an example as to the type of measures that are important to move agriculture forward in our entire region, the Caribbean region.
Samuda says the FAO has always provided assistance for the agricultural sector, and he hopes that plans will be implemented to tackle the issues faced with climate change.
There are those in the world who have sought to suggest that climate change is just a fashionable catchword that doesn't really have much meaning. I made the point that on the presentation on behalf of Jamaica that for some, climate change may be just an idea. For us, it's a reality, because we are confronted with it every year, bar none. It's either drought, or it is flooding, or it is a hurricane. So we have to contend with it.
That's News Live in 5. Stand by for sports with Wayne Walker.